Wyclef Jean, BKS1 Radio. Let's go.
This is Essence Atkins, and this is BKS1 Radio.
Hi, this is Melba Moore, and you're listening to BKS1 Radio.
Yo, check it out. What's the deal? This the chef. Giving a big shout out to my peoples. Big KS, you already know what it is. Salute.
What's up? It's your girl Monifa, and I'm hanging with BKS1 Radio.
Hi, I'm Iyanla Vanzan, and you're listening to BKS1 Radio.
BKS Radio, baby.
Hey, this is Jasmine Guy for BKS1 Radio.
What's going on? This is Lamont Rooker, and this is BKS1 Radio.
Shout out to BKS1, the best kept damn secret in the business.
Hey, what's up? This is Raven Goodwin from BET's Being Mary Jane, and shout out to BKS1.
Hi, this is Leon. You're watching BKS1 Radio.
BKS1. God bless y'all. Wyclef Jean, BKS1 Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Owl Show right here on BKS1 Radio. It is your girl, Latoya Chanel, and I am so happy to be back in the building today and so happy that you all are here with me and my guests, excuse me, my guests who are actually going to be in studio with me. You know their faces, and you also know their names because you've seen them before, because they've been here. Why? Because we were in the middle of doing a series, and I am so ecstatic to be talking about it. We were actually just having a snippet of our conversation beforehand that I really kind of want to get back to. So, you know what? When we're not talking to you guys, I really kind of want to get back to this conversation too. But ours is just as great. Again, we are on the healing journey, and you guys know the healing journey takes a lot of different steps. There's a lot that goes along in the healing journey, and we're going to continue on with it. And I want you all to continue on with me, right? So, as far as healing is concerned, I'm healing physically too, because unfortunately I was sick last week. That happened at work, but we'll talk about that another time too. In the meantime, I definitely want to make sure that we're getting into the conversation because we have so much that we want to talk about. I'm going to have the ladies to my left and to my right introduce themselves because I'm always doing the talking. So I'm going to just put the camera on them, producer, and they are here. We're going to start over here to my left.
Hi, everybody. It's Angelica Ogando. Everybody calls me Angie. You're my friend, so call me Angie. And I am co-founder of Yoshida Academy and the Warrior Queen Cosmetics. And I have my co-founder here, Minue Yoshida. Thank you so much, Latoya, for wearing Warrior Queen because a queen doesn't wear anything except Warrior Queen Cosmetics.
Yes.
Same thing here, different shade. Different shade because guess what? I've been trying to use the purple. It does not go very well on me. Then I use the green and it's like, but the oranges, the pinks, those are good. Those
and the
are
reds.
Good. So
yeah.
I'm still playing around. I'm still learning, by the way.
Okay.
But it all looks good. and as you can see, because this is something that, makeup lines are just starting to do because makeup wasn't for different shades. But as you can see, we are completely 3 different shades and the makeup looks good on all 3 of us. So that's a testament to Warrior Queen Cosmetics.
And that was the purpose of our line. We wanted to make sure that the makeup was long lasting. I mean, I've had my makeup on since 8 o'clock in the morning. Haven't changed it. Okay.
Me too.
I love it. Look at that. It's highly pigmented, so it looks amazing on every skin tone.
I love it.
And that it is vegan and cruelty free. So if you want to test it out, check out our webpage, www.warriorqueencosmetics.com. Shout out to my other co-founder for that company, which is my twin sister, Maria. Yay!
Go, Maria.
Yes. Make sure you guys go there and test it out. Listen, I literally wear it every single day. Well, every single day that I have makeup on. My palettes are all Warrior Queen Cosmetics. I don't use anything else, and I haven't since I purchased it. And now I need to go back and purchase more because you have your summer makeup, you have your winter makeup. So now I need to go back and purchase it and have different colors. So I need another palette. So,
okay.
Yeah.
We have one in the works coming out soon.
Good. In the meantime, we are back, and we're in this flag series, and we have been talking about red flags all summer long. If you missed the previous shows, please go back and watch them because there are some tips, tools, gems, jewels. I'm rhyming at this point. Nice. And all of those shows that I've been excited about, I've been learning from myself. And whether you two know it or not, I take these conversations into work, right? And I just expound upon things that we have discussed and things that we have talked about, here on the show. And I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm really, figuring out, again, this is the healing journey, right?
That's exactly what
So I'm figuring out basically how to formulate how I feel about certain things. Where do I begin? How do I feel about it? What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
To make sure it's all positive and to make sure it's something that's feeding me, in a positive manner. So that's just my thoughts on what's happened so far, right? So where are we going today with it, right? So today we're talking about red flags in love and in friendships. Oh gosh. Okay. In love and in friendships. You guys ready for this one?
We're going deep.
You guys ready for this one?
We're ready.
Are we starting? We're starting with love?
We're starting with love.
Oh, God.
Get ready for this.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. All right. So we're getting into it. And you guys, let's get into it too. And please talk to me on Facebook in the chat so I can read your comments and, your experiences and go from there. You all know that I am completely transparent on this show. And the world knows whatever I allow you to know, but I am completely transparent with my experiences here on the show. So we're going to get into red flags in love.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about behaviors first.
Yes. But before we even begin with behaviors, we have to define what is a love relationship.
Go ahead.
And the definition is the one where we are in a partnership with someone else. Now, partnership may look different for everybody.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
here we are inclusive. And so there are different types of love relationship, but this one is the sentimental, the partnership one, the one where you are in a relationship with someone and it's sentimental, like we say in Spanish. Emotions are involved. There's a love relationship with someone that you potentially see yourself long-term with. Now, we know not
Romantic
everybody believes into marriages, and so some people are in long-term relationships. Some people are in, alternative relationships, whatever that is for you.
Right.
It's a relationship that has romance in it.
Romantic relationships.
That's
romantic
exactly
love.
what it is.
Okay.
Romantic love.
Okay, romantic
And so,
love relationship. Okay.
What are the red flags, Minoy, when it comes to behaviors? Because we have to identify, what in the heck are the red flags?
Right.
And what does behaviors have to do with it?
Right.
All right, so red flags are literally a signal that it could be very, very short, such as a look or a movement, like a body language, right? So it could be subtle, or it could be longer, and it could be a whole sentence, a whole phrase, but it could also be a whole scene, a whole behavior, a whole component of someone saying, doing, yelling or not. And so it depends on who it is and where you are and who you are and where the circumstances are. So it comes in all forms and shapes. And red flags are those signals that is communicating something to you. So you should be inside listening to woo, 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 like that thing. It should be noisy, like it should be something to alert you. And unfortunately, we know sometimes which ones they are, but we want to ignore them. And then we'll go into why later on today. But so again, red flags is the sign that tells you something is not okay.
Yeah.
Something is off. You might not know the name, you might not know exactly what that is, but you're uncomfortable, you're not happy, you feel it. By the way, red flags is not something you think, it's you really feel it.
You can feel. Oh, yeah.
You feel
Definitely.
it in the gut, you feel it in the heart. Sometimes you feel it because I don't know, it's like a Spider-Man and his spidey senses.
So, okay,
but, it's there.
I want to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
If red flags are something that you feel,
yeah,
what is the difference between being in a relationship, maybe because maybe you're not the healthy individual in the relationship, right?
Oh, yes.
So what's the difference between finally being in a healthy relationship and dealing with something that you're not used to versus a red flag? What's the difference between the two?
What a great question. The difference between the two, where you're saying you're healed, but something is coming up, right?
Right. No. So what? Okay. Full transparency.
Okay.
I was in a relationship some years ago with an individual who, due to a lot of nurturing, completely different background, completely different upbringing. And so a lot of what I would say and a lot of what I would do was foreign to him because it was from a healthy, positive place where he was used to more toxic family dynamic.
Yeah.
And so, you know, solving problems or issues or having an opinion, he was more used to yelling, screaming, fighting, where I had come from a family where it was, well, no, we sit down, we discuss, we hear each other out. And he wasn't used to that. And so the yelling, screaming, fighting was normal. That's how they show love, you know? So with me saying, I'm not comfortable with you talking to me like that.
Yeah.
For him, it was, so what's the difference between you're not healthy, you're not coming from a healthy place, but you feel as though this person that you're now in a relationship with in some way, shape, or form, because they handle things different from you, you don't know if that's necessarily a red flag for you in a relationship, or is it a growth moment for you?
Oh, I love that because, you know, on our drive here, Minoy and I were talking about that there are times when if you've healed from a certain pattern, and we spoke about patterns in our last session, when you notice it on someone else, if you have already healed, then maybe you are the person's lesson. Did you hear that? You're the person's lesson. You're their mirror on the things they need to work on. But this is the key and the foundation with any relationship. And this is what's lacking, communication. Because we spoke about boundaries the last time, but today we're going to speak about expectations. If we are not level setting expectations, and this is something that I learned after many failed attempts at finding love, if you're not setting the expectations, then you are going to be in for a rude awakening, because this is the problem. You've been on your healing journey for a while. This person who is not on your wavelength, because let's be honest, the minute you decide to vibrate on a different wavelength, you're going to attract the people that are supposed to be in this wavelength. What I mean by that is sometimes like particles, you know, one will escape and come through in that wavelength.
Yes.
And either you have to question, am I this person's lesson? Or is this person willing to go through and start their own healing process? Because this is the thing, it's acceptance, it's awareness. Hey, I need to heal. This is foreign to me. But did you set an expectation where you told them, I've been on a healing process for a long time. This is what I learned. And for me, communication looks like X. If you set the expectation, but this person is not ready, it's not willing to go and seek help, then that's your red flag that you need to go.
And so for me, that was a red flag. For him, it was a growth moment.
And that's the difference. And I think that and here's the thing. Red flags is not like pain. We shouldn't be running away from them, right? Because we try to do everything possible to avoid pain, to avoid death, to avoid. We're not avoiding. It's part of life, and it's part of the yin-yang, right? And so a red flag is just supposed to alert us of something that is not comfortable in that moment, I would say, and I love that you mentioned, Angie, about the fact that we are a lesson for someone else. I would say that we are the lesson for someone else, but also someone else is our teacher.
That's right.
And I think that in the relationship, if I accept you as my teacher and you accept me as your teacher, now we have a different conversation, because now I'm not trying to be right, which is the reason why we all fight. The reason why countries fight with each other and bombs and all this is because I am right.
Yeah.
My way of arguing is the right way of arguing. My way of not arguing is the right way of arguing, because in the perspective that you have, I don't want to speak for you, so I'm just going to hypothetically think that you say, no, don't yell at me because this is not my right way of doing it. And he might say like, no, this is the right way of doing it. And so at the end is, I want to be right. And it's not about that. It's about what do you want and what do I want here and now in this moment, not what I grew up with, not what my ancestors were doing when they were arguing, and this is a tradition we have.
Yeah.
So then the conversation elevates into another question that is what's happening now essential or accidental? Like in philosophy, it's called this essential is, let's call it the showstopper. Is this something that I can't live with, or is it accidental, which is maybe we can agree, let's stop the yelling, and this person will say, how about you raise your voice just a little bit, we meet in the middle. And so that is a decision, and that is the one that comes from the gut, by the way, because deep inside of you can say, is this something that can be quote unquote fixed? Can we talk about this? Can we set the expectation? And listen to this interesting fact, because this is where the decision comes. I don't want you to be yelling at me like if I'm hard of hearing. I am in front of you, and I don't need this yelling. Why? Because when I was little, my mother was yelling at me, my father, and then I got a little chancleta, and I have this trauma that I haven't healed. Got it. I hear you. How about you? Well, I want you to yell a little bit to show some passion. To me, you're a little passive. What's going on? Show me that you care, because you're not yelling me enough. Okay. What do you want from me? I want this. What do you want from me? I want this. Are we willing to compromise? Yes. Let's do this. Then that's a learning moment. The red flag. I don't care how you grow up. Your mom is crazy. And you're coming from a wound that you have to heal. Like putting it on you. Like the issue is you, because I'm right. I'm right? That's a red flag. That speaks about the essential, not the accident. And in that case, now we're talking about something different.
Yeah, the person who makes it a you problem.
Yeah.
All the time. It's a you problem.
Ooh, that's a red flag.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I remember from the many masters that I've had in this lifetime, one of my masters with my mirror used to say to me, Angie, is it better for you to be right or for the relationship to be okay? Thank you, master. Today, you know who you are. Thank you for that lesson.
Yeah, do you want to be right, or do you want the relationship?
I did not, in the moment, because I was dealing with an ego problem. See, this is another thing. Red flag, when your ego gets in the way and you are unwilling to compromise and listen to the other. There is something that we always begin with whenever we're doing a training session or even a coaching session. And it's one of the expectations that we set. And one of the expectations is called active listening. And active listening is the intent to be influenced by the other that my master over here, Minoue Yoshida, so beautifully coined. And so we do not do enough listening because we have not been taught to listen. Listening is an action.
Yes, it is.
And so that is tied to our communication, which is tied to our expectations, which is tied to our boundaries. Because you make your decision when you've gone through the iteration of, did this cross my boundary?
Are we on boundaries again?
You said we never end with
it's everything is boundary.
We always come back to boundaries. Yeah. So I just need to circle back really quickly because we just answered your question. So when it comes to relationships, whether it's friendship or love, It's based on two things. It's based on emotion and it's based on behaviors. And red flags cross one of those things. It's like, whoa, wait a second. You're exhibiting a behavior that is not healthy. You're showing an emotion that clearly is attached to something, an experience that you have not overcome yet.
We have come with a category for this. You ready?
What's that? What's that?
All right, so this you want to use it? All right, so the category of this red flag behavior, we're going to call them negative. And I'm quoting it because at the end, even the worst of the behavior of someone else's behavior ends up being a positive because it was a lesson. So we're going to call it negative code. And then this negative is in 3 different categories. So we're going to put it in the category of the one that immediately pops and it can kill you is radioactive. Is radioactive, which is you said something, I did something, radioactive, boom.
Radioactive red flag?
Radioactive red flag.
Okay.
Radioactive
I'm following.
red flag.
I'm following, yes.
And each person will have a different definition, a different manifestation of this, right? A different way of showing it up. To me, a radioactive red flag would be you raising your hand at me.
Oh, of course.
Okay, that's well, to me and to you. But and there's people that know. There's like, no, it's fine. Okay, but that's okay. And the definition comes from you. So that's a radioactive. It's immediate. It's done. You won't do this. Stop. Done. Then the next one, it's toxic. And we speak about this a lot. And toxic,
Yes, we do.
imagine toxicity like eating all this pesticides in the vegetables that we're eating and all these things. So it's a little bit of poison. There's like little by little, you know it's wrong, but your body pays for it. And Angie was mentioning, and the bill comes expensive, right? It's like it's a big bill.
Because it's a slow one, but it'll come maybe years down the line, and you're like,
but you will
what
pay.
happened?
Yeah,
you
will pay. You will definitely
pay.
pay. Yeah.
You will pay. And an example of that, and same on behaviors, going back to what Angie was mentioning, was you raise your voice at me a little bit, then you raise your voice at me a little bit, then you raise your voice. Now you're making faces, raising voice, body language, right? And so, yeah, there's a point where it's like, I'm so, how did this happen? But then the third one is corrosive. Corrosive red flag. And this is the most dangerous one. Think of corrosion like this. You go to the dollar store, and I'm just mentioning it because you know that it might cost just a little bit, but it's functional for the moment.
Okay.
You're happy with the purchase. You go like, yay, it's metal. Then water gets into that, but you do know that it was not expensive, so the expectation is a bit low with that. You need to dry it, right? It doesn't have any protection for aluminum of some sort. If you don't do that and then you use it again, nothing happens. It's the second time, third time. Okay, but sooner or later, you come one morning and it's rusted. And you should not be saying, oh, how strange, it's rusted. There's nothing strange on that. You didn't dry it. It was cheap material. You should be expecting this. But the corrosion happened. And the danger of that is you didn't see the corrosion happening, but suddenly corrosion damaged it in such way that there is no turning back. Right? And so imagine rusted metal. And the issue with corrosion is like a relationship that, we were happy, suddenly, boom, something happened. We're not good, at all. At all. And you might think it's sudden.
But it's not.
It's not sudden.
Right.
It's not sudden. You didn't want to see it. That's another story. It's not sudden. It was corrosive. You allowed it. You want to, and there's two choices. You want to play the victim and say, there was this masquerade, like this facade that you had, and you were disguising this behavior, this wonderful being that I thought you were. No, wait a minute. It was there all the time. Whether you want to accept the red flag or not, that's another story. So don't complain about corrosion, because it was there all the time. And so when you see a behavior, which category would you put it in?
So the categories, just so you all can write it down, it's the toxic one. It's the toxic red flag, the one that causes toxicity.
Yep.
Then it's the abrasive one, and like Minue so eloquently said, it's the one that causes corrosion. And then the third one is the
Radioactive.
Radioactive.
The
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's the one that literally you can't put your hands on it. Because the minute you do, it just explodes. It explodes right back at you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. I love this. I love this.
When we come with the book, all of you.
Yes. No, I love this.
We're going to have a whole chart on this in the
I love
book.
this.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like, what the type of flag it is, what behavior was displayed with this, but then the most important thing is all of this is coming from an emotion.
Right.
Deep emotion. Which type of emotions? Abandonment, loneliness, rejection, aggression,
Attachment.
Attachment.
Insecurity.
And that's one of the things I was saying at the beginning of the show, just thinking about what I was thinking about, because when you think about what you're thinking about, you begin to ask yourself the empowering questions. You know, the empowering questions. Why do I believe this? Why did I attach this definition to this action? Why do I now feel this way about this when this happened? You know what I mean? And it's like, you have to ask yourself these questions because you're not even going to recognize that it's a red flag. Forget what kind of red flag it is. You're not even going to recognize it as any kind of red flag because, again, you're not dealing with the emotion part of it.
Right.
So you're not dealing with the fact that you have an insecurity, you have some sort of trauma, you have some sort of. So if you don't deal with the emotions, if you don't stop and say, hey, for instance, the first example. Why do I always want to yell when I feel passionate about something?
Because you want to be heard.
Why do I want to touch that? Why is that? Is it maybe because you never felt like you were heard?
There's a belief attached to that. You want to be heard. Why? Because maybe when you were younger, you weren't. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you were told certain things about when you would speak up.
Right.
That maybe we've heard everything from. Oh, people would say that my points didn't come across clearly. I was all over the place.
Right.
That I don't sound intelligent enough. And so there's a ton of things that are attached to that. We just have to go down deep and figure out, well, what is it? Once you identify the belief, then you can work on the behavior. You need to get rid of the charge. There's an emotion. An emotion causes a charge. And that emotional charge then causes a behavior, which is the action. And the action is the result of what you felt.
And underneath this whole thing, insecurity and attachment and all of this thing underneath is one thing. Lack of self-esteem.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Because a human being that loves himself, herself, themselves, people that love oneself do not go out and seek for war. If you're in peace, you don't seek for war. You don't see it.
Right.
If you're in peace. So it's just self-love and inner peace at the end. That is a red flag. And we all know it. We all feel it.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love all of this. This is great already. I love the fact that just getting people to think. Just getting people to think. If you can get someone to think differently about a situation that they're in, sometimes people don't know they're not in a healthy situation.
Right.
Most times people don't know that this is not a healthy relationship, or this is not what you really want, or this is not the relationship you thought it was.
I'm not sure.
No?
No, because I've asked this question to so many people. Like, I've done a survey,
Yeah.
I ask, in the truth of truths, in all honesty, you don't owe me anything. Just be very honest with yourself, not with me. In the truth of truths, inside of you, you really didn't know.
And what's the answer?
And everybody told me, there's a part of me that knew.
See, this is what happens.
I felt.
We dismiss it. We become oblivious. We know it's there. We don't want to deal with it because we're like, if I deal with it, it's gonna end. I didn't want to know.
I get what you're saying. I didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
And I didn't want to deal with it because of my own insecurity. I didn't want to deal with it because of my own trauma. I didn't want to deal with it because of fear or whatever it is.
And it's subconscious. And granted, I've been there, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
I've been there, and people ask me, you have no idea, by the way, and I said it. I was like, I didn't know. And then, no, you know what? Upon review, upon further review, going back
being
to
all honest with myself and full transparency.
Because I did tell someone before committing this terrible mistake, right? And not just someone. I mentioned a bunch of someone. Right. Oh, shit, I don't know if I want to do this. Mm-hmm. Just confessing here. And I wasn't brave enough. Mm-hmm. I was afraid, and I was afraid for the most. I can say it now, and I said it in my own healing process, and with lots of judgment that I have to forgive myself for judging myself on those days, right?
Yeah.
But without judgment and in cold platter and without the emotion, now I can tell you, it was an act of cowardness. Oof. Because I told the world about this.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
So now I have to stick with it.
The brilliant Minue, I'm supposed to be bright, intelligent.
We talked about that on the last show. Yeah, we talked about that on the last show.
It's an
You're
act
right.
of cowardness, but deep inside, and I might be wrong, and I'm okay if someone that is listening, I want to type here on Facebook or want to say this to this later, but deep inside of you, you knew.
Yeah.
And I think the question here is not why, but what for, and this is something that our coach has taught Angie and I. Why? It's not why didn't you do something, but what were you trying to accomplish by not saying something, taking action, changing your mind, right?
Yeah.
Some of us grew up with, once you start something, you have to finish it.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
Or you just deal with it, or you just endure, or you just, that's all a
Right.
part of it, and you have to figure out ways to deal with certain things.
The cross that you have to carry.
Yeah.
No, don't carry. Can I get a commercial?
Yes, you can. Please do so.
No. This is not the cross that was intended for you to carry.
Right.
Like you can put it on the side, drop it. It's not yours. That's fine. You don't need to.
Right.
You don't need to prove it to anyone. You don't owe explanations to anyone. You can just say, I turn around and go. We call this the U-turn.
Yes.
Without having to tell anybody. Guess what? U-turns are allowed to the left and to the right.
You're going to make many U-turns in your life.
Yes,
You
just-
should
just
make many
change your
U-turns
mind.
in your life, because no one makes all the right, perfect decisions throughout their entire life. So
Right.
It's a world of U-turns. I want to go into the friendships part, though.
I love it. Yes.
Because we often think, when we think of red flags, I immediately think of love and relationships, right? And especially, with someone who's dating, I immediately think red flags, relationships, dating, all of that, right? But it's rare that we talk about red flags in friendships. It's so rare. Oh gosh, I was actually having this conversation with Charmaine.
Okay.
Recently, I was having this conversation with her. I love our conversations. We talk for hours, but we were having a conversation about red flags in friendships, and so I want to go into this, and we wanted to start with, what is your definition of friendship?
I'll say one thing, then you and let's
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So Angie and I have been talking about friendships for so long, in our own process and our own growth, by the way, right? And we have defined that there are a few conditions for friendship to happen. I'll start with one, and then we'll go back and forth. My mom taught me this. I'll say it in Spanish and in English because I'm looking for the perfect translation. El amigo no quiere tu bien, procura tu bien. And the difference is, the friend does not want something for you to be good, but makes everything possible for you to be okay. And it's the difference between I wish you well and I'll do something for you to be okay. And
a friend allows you to be you and does not point out the things that you need to change, but rather when you discover them says, how can I best support you?
All right.
Okay.
Reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
Vital, important, like top level reciprocity. And reciprocity does not mean one for one. It's not about $1 for $1, a favor for a favor. That's not reciprocity. Reciprocity could come in the form and shape of something that becomes something else, but that it's kind of sending the ball back and forth, and not just me calling you all the time, not just me reminding you about all the important dates, not just me reaching out, not just me asking you about your family, your dog, your cat, your everybody else, not just me helping you because you only call me when you need something, right? So it's a back and forth. That's reciprocity.
I love it. Friendship is someone who shows up and doesn't need an invitation to help when they see you under duress. They just literally jump in and start doing.
There's one thing that is shared with love as well. Respect is not understood for some people as the word really respect is, right? And people think respect is I don't mess with you, you don't mess with me. That's not respect. Respect is I am compassionate enough and active listening to you in a way that I understand that that's the way that you are. But I am not going to stay away
because that's the way that
because that's the way you are. I'm going to get close to you because that's the way you are. I'm going to ask you about it. I'm going to do my best to understand you. And guess what? I might not be able to understand you 100% because maybe that's based on an experience that I never had. However, the effort of trying to understand you is what really counts. And respect is going beyond this, you know, and it could be something extremely simple. I have a friend that is LGBTQA+, wants to go to a parade. Oh, I respect you. No. What do you want me to wear? What parade do you want me to go to? What do you want me to chant? I'll chant it with you. Who do you want me to fight? I'll defend you. God forbid someone is making you a bad face or is disrespectful to you, because I will give myself and put myself in the middle. So respect is going beyond that. And that goes with love as well. And a friend will do that. An acquaintance will keep the distance. A friend will do that without you asking.
An acquaintance will keep the distance. I'm glad you said that. So here is my issue. We are seeing a lot of social media, I feel like, is creating a false sense of friendship.
Oh, completely.
There are a number of people who really are acquaintances that make it look good in pictures for social media. And it's not just our generation, but I feel like the generation that it's coming up after us now operate and move in this false sense of friendship because of the optics. You know?
Love that. Yeah.
It's the optics of what friendship looks like. But I don't think a lot of people are really building upon actual friendships. And so, and there's one key thing that's missing, the same as in loving relationships, is communication. So, for instance, when we're getting into our loving relationships, listen, everybody doesn't want to be married for the same reason.
Right.
Everybody doesn't want to be in a relationship for the same reasons.
Right.
People have different reasons. Listen, if you find a person that has the same reason as you, no matter if it makes sense to anyone else, if it makes sense to these two people and they're going to make it work, fine. You guys live your best life, do whatever it is you need to do.
Correct.
But I feel like it's the same thing with friendships too. Because if you want an acquaintance type of friendship, then you have to find other people that also want acquaintance type friendships.
Right.
So you're not going to call me bestie.
No.
and I can't call on you at 2:00 in the morning because I broke up with this guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have to have a real bestie. So if I'm going through it, yes, you have to go to work, but we're on the phone.
Right.
Because I'm crying and I'm bawling my eyes out. And not on a needy basis, because obviously that can't happen all the time, because you just have respect for your friend.
Right.
But you should be there for your friend.
Correct.
You should be there.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
So one thing also that I have to add here, which is very, very important, whether it's a romantic relationship or a platonic relationship that you have with somebody, a friendship, forgiveness is key. And it's something that we have taken out because we want to be right. And at the end of the day, however you perceive it in your end, you're right. You're not wrong. You're right, because that's what you perceived. That's what you felt. Right. You're both right. So forgiveness is important, and under forgiveness is love. Because Minue and I were having this conversation. There are some friends that you have a fallout with, and you never hear from them again. Or maybe on the other end, you never want to speak to them again. But then there are some friends that, although they repeat patterns, because it's the same as a loving relationship, it doesn't change. We have the same 3 categories of flags, right? There is an underlying a thing that connects them, and it's love. Because you're willing to forgive them because you love them, and you are willing to give the time to heal in the space, but you come back. Even if it's a year later that you haven't spoken to this friend, you come back and you talk about it. There are some friends that you're like, and you don't reach out, you never hear from them, they ghost you. You get ghosted both in romantic relationships and in
but that's a red flag.
And that's a red flag. Do not ghost people. Give them at least a reason as to why.
Right,
you know?
right. But you have to be honest to give the person a reason why.
Right.
So here's okay.
And I'm gonna add one thing to this, because this may come back to bite me. So I have to put a pause for the cause here. Sometimes you really get so wrapped up in things that are happening that you don't circle back, but you end up circling back. They just never see it because they probably blocked you. So I'm just gonna
someone blocked Angie. Really appreciate
you know.
Just unblock her in a year. Just give her a year. She'll come back to you.
So here's a really, 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 really big issue that happens in friendships, and I want both of your professional expertise, opinions, experiences with it. Do you believe in real friendships there is correction the way there is in loving relationships?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's not a real friendship if you aren't correcting from a place of love.
Really?
Yeah. But it's not correction, because the thing is that correction allows for the ego to come in. And so you're judging from your point of view and perspective. So it's not truly correction. It's me pointing out that there's a problem.
Right. So okay, correction is a poor choice of word. But
correction can also be gaslighting.
Oh, completely.
Let me just tell you this.
What did you mean? Oh, sorry.
So, a correction with gaslighting, because when we allow the ego to come in from our place of judgment, because we're seeing it from our point of view, now we are it's almost like you're pointing the finger at somebody, and now you're gaslighting them. And so I'll give you an example. So Mino and I had an issue, this full transparency. We had an issue a couple weeks ago, and this was a matter of she caught me in the middle of me doing something with family, and she needed me to be more excited for something that she was sharing, because Minue, I have to understand, and this is me being transparent, I hope you're okay with it.
Well, at this point, you're like,
wait, because
wait. Trapitos al sol,
no,
wait.
I just need to say this. It's just that
I don't care, love.
Minue, Minue caught me in the middle of doing something. And so she needed support in the moment, and I didn't give it to her the way that she wanted it. When she sends me a message about it, I don't respond in the right way with the right words in the right manner at the right time. And I own it. You know what she did, which was amazing? She said, Angie, I know this is not you. I'm going to give you some time. And literally, it took about a week. She came back to me. She knows the way I like to talk and communicate, which is don't give me essays. Minue loves to create essays and stories about, things.
She's an outliner.
Right.
No,
And
like
we
that.
communicate
An
different,
outliner.
right? We communicate different. But she did the most beautiful thing. She came back and she said, I realized you were going through something in the moment. She said, and I let my ego get in the way because I started to make assumptions, judgments, and everything in my head. She says, but I want you to know I love you. And I'm still going to be here for you. That's love at the end of the day. That's what forgiveness looks like. And so I apologized to her. She apologized to me. And it wasn't Angie, you did this and I didn't like it and this is how I felt. It was, no. I let my ego get in the way. And this is what you taught me in that moment. Because you were a lesson. Here's my master. My ego was like, wait, what? Oh, woo. My ego, by the way, is called Jessica. We have our clients name their ego. Minue, what's your ego's name?
Lucrecia,
And-
porque está
and-
loca y necia.
Latoya, what's your ego's name?
I don't know. I have
you
to
need
figure
to
that
come
out.
up with a name.
Yeah, I have to figure it out.
You need to give your ego a name. My ego's name is Jessica, and so Jessica had to literally stop and say, you know what? You're absolutely correct. And this is what I learned. And so we both came from a point of what did I learn personally rather than this is what you did and this is how I felt. And that's gaslighting, right? This is what you did. This is how I felt. That's gaslighting.
And that is the difference between identifying the red flag. And you mentioned it a while ago. If someone starts with, you did, you said, you do this, that red flag, love, because at the end of the day, the question is, what did I do? What did I say? What did I didn't say that put ourselves in this situation? Because the first thing is that I'm going to own my stuff.
Right.
If I own my stuff, now I can come back and say, by the way, you said this word and I didn't like it. And then we come into a point where you have to decide if this red flag is really a red flag.
But you have to have the communication part because you have to communicate, because there's never a point where it's okay, well, it happened and I'm just going to move on, because you cannot do that.
Right.
Full transparent moment here. I had a best friend where we were friends for years. She began going through a few different tragedies in her life. When she began going through a few different tragedies, in my immediately, what can I do? How can I be there? What do I need to do? I'm there. In the midst of me doing so, I kind of became her punching bag. Because at that point, I had become the closest thing to her.
Right.
And I had become her punching bag. So conversations were, they would get a bit disrespectful. However, what you did, I said, this isn't you. This isn't you. This isn't us. So you know what? You shouldn't say these things. You shouldn't do this. I recognize what you're going through. So you know what? I'm just going to take a step back and I'm going to say, let's have this conversation in 5 years. What we're going to do is we're going to get a bottle of tequila, and in 5 years, we're going to circle back to this because I understand what you're going through. You're not going to be thinking clearly. And in 5 years from now, you're going to look back and you're going to have a completely different perspective because your life is going to be completely different. It kept going, it kept going, it kept going, it kept going. I am a human being. By the time it kept going, and this was now maybe a year or so later of constant jabs, I said, okay, I am tired of this, and I am tired of this because blah, 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 right? And she was immediately just taken aback by every single thing that I had said. And then it wasn't about, then the conversation was no longer about the fact that You have literally been disrespectful and coming at me for an entire year, and I am tired of it. It became, I attacked you. And that led to a big blow up in friendships. It led to a full everything. It was, we talked about it once or twice. Everything was completely awkward. Some more things were said, and another conversation hasn't happened. I brought it up for the first conversation. I brought it up the second conversation. Listen, we need to make sure we talk this out so that things can get back to the way they were. We need to do this. We need to heal from this. We need to do that. I did that twice. In doing so, no, I don't feel any kind of way. I don't feel da-da-da-da. The behaviors are different. The emotions are different. Those emotions are still there because your behaviors are still different.
Right.
And so then I don't hear from you. Then I don't see you. And then you're not around. Now we are 2 years later. And so you're talking about a level of hurt. I have been hurt now for the last 2 years. And in the process of being hurt, now I'm pulling back. Like you said, sometimes people come back around. But now I am pulling back. I've talked with some of my other friends, like, I don't know what to do. Clearly, I'm not the one that can say anything anymore, because every time I say we should talk, then everybody's, no, blah, blah, blah. You know, it turns into a whole nother layer of issue. So how do you move on from that? Or is that a red flag that maybe this is a friendship that is now outgrown?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think that's a friendship that the season ended. It came to an end. And I'm going to tell you this, the minute you get to a point where you're disrespecting each other publicly, you're ousting each other, you're calling each other out of your name, the friendship has ended. For me, it may not be a boundary for you.
Right, we didn't get to that point.
But this is why it's so important to define what friendship means to you. See, the thing about Minoy and I is, we were friends before we became business partners. Because when people see us, they're like, oh my goodness, you guys are like sisters. You fight like sisters. And one of the things that her and I say is, we are sisters. And you know why? Because we have shared values.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is why it's so important to tell your friends what your values are from the beginning. If you don't have some form of alignment and your friends don't understand, and they're crossing your boundary, which has to be is connected to your values, then maybe that friendship is just not a healthy friendship for you.
Right.
And now I have a question. Do you love her?
Oh yes, I love all of them.
Love her. No, I love all of them. Sounds like
right.
No. I love my 500 friends. No, wait.
Yes, no, I know. I love. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you love her?
Yes.
Then fight for it. Wait, does she love you?
I don't know.
I
don't know.
If you question it, then that's an issue.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
I don't know.
Situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that is the beginning.
Yeah.
The beginning is, do I love her? Does she love me? That's the beginning. You have questions of love. That's another conversation. And guess what? In my perspective, if you love her, it would be a nice question to ask, as direct as I'm asking you, do you love me? Because I believe, I'm not sure, I wasn't there, but I believe that there's lack of ownership here that it's happening. And it's not the same if I tell Angie, I'm expecting for you to read my email that is 3 pages long, and I have no idea why you haven't read it, you woman. That's me putting it on her.
Right.
Than for me to have a moment of ownership and bravery and say, what is love? Love is what the other one wants, not what I want. What does she want? She doesn't want a 3-page email.
Right.
No.
Right.
So she wants bullets, short sentences.
Get to the point.
Get to the point. She wants me to get to the point, and I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Even if it's 3 hours of doing this. Okay, this is what I give to you because I love you. But the bullets are now, why didn't you read my email? The bullets go like, Angie, love, I wanted to say something to you. I didn't say it. I should have said it. I apologize because that day when I felt hurt, it would have been braver for me to tell you in that moment that I was hurt and not wait 2 years after that. Two different conversations, love, because I'm not talking about you
I know,
and your faults.
that mirror,
I'm sorry,
that
love.
ego, everything is getting in the way
It's
right
not
now with her.
you and your behavior and what you said and what you. Let's talk about. I'm going to talk about me and what I can control, and I can only control my emotions.
I can only control
my
me. Yeah.
reactions and me, and so I want to talk to you, my friend Latoya, about things that I should have said that I didn't, and I apologize for that. I'm going to talk about feelings that I contained instead of letting them go. I'm going to talk about forgiveness that didn't come from me when they should have come. I'm going to talk about the things that I accidentally say, but I didn't mean them. And I want to start all over because I love you. And if I do that, and you do that, we find each other.
And that's the conversation that we should have had. That has never happened.
And it can only happen if the first question is answered, by the way. Do you love me? And if she says, I don't know, that's the moment where then what Angie said is like, ooh, got it. Thanks for everything you've given me. Thanks for all that was. You're grateful for what actually happened. Thanks for the love you gave me.
Right.
And you let it go.
And that's right. And so I struggled for the last 2 years if that is in fact where we are, because again, these are childhood friendships, and now we're middle-aged women, and so it's, did we outgrow one another, and did life's occurrences just they happened and it showed us who each individual is, and maybe we've outgrown one another, maybe, who knows, but that's been my struggle. I want to read some of the comments on here, because I don't know, we'll talk about this some more.
Right.
But
I have the feeling that this is gonna come back.
Oh, this is definitely gonna come back,
and I love it, of course.
No, this is definitely coming back.
Yes.
So Sean wrote, you can't love other people if you don't love yourself.
That's right.
Yes.
Teresa wrote, friendship is always mutual, trust and support.
Absolutely.
Yes,
She
absolutely.
also wrote, mutual is the key. The responsibilities are different in given situations, but mutual support and trust is a must. If not, there is no friendship.
Yes.
Sage said, if you don't grow together, you will grow apart.
Oh, of course, definitely. One person
Love
cannot
you,
be
Sage.
growing and the other person
And
decide they don't
that's
want to.
the
It's the wavelength that I was telling y'all about. If y'all are not in the same wavelength, get off of the frequency.
Yes, and I think that was it. I think that sometimes things just grow in opposite directions. I'm trying to do this. And Jason. Hi, Jason. Shout out to Jason. He said, peace, ladies. He's watching as well. So those are just some of the comments. But I do want to circle back to this because, again, we always talk about red flags in romantic relationships, but we rarely talk about red flags in friendships.
Yeah.
I was actually having a conversation with my daughter literally just yesterday, and I told her that we were going to be talking about red flags on the show. And she was telling me a situation about one of her girlfriends. Now, these are younger generation, young ladies. They're in their 20s, and it's the reciprocity part of with one of her girlfriends. And she was saying, there's no reciprocity. We can talk, and she can ask me questions all day, and then I'll say, well, how are you? And she'll go, oh, things are fine. And that's just it. And I'm like, it's strange.
And the new generation, I also think that one of the things they could do is help each other, educate one another with love, and then, because I have people from the new generations that's like, hey, Joey, how are you doing? I'm fine. And so I have to educate Joey and say, like, I'm also fine, Joey, and thank you so much for asking. And so next time when I see Joey, it's like, oh, sorry, how are you doing? Sometimes just people don't reciprocate because they are not coming from that culture. Speaking of backgrounds, maybe some of them at home, they don't do this.
Right.
Which I have a lot of friends that don't teach their kids to ask back, how are you doing?
Yes, how are you? But again, like I said, I think the next generation and some in this generation, it's all about optics. It's, oh, but we're on vacation, and oh, but we can take pictures, and there's girl brunches, and there's this and there's that. But that's not what friendship is all about. It's not just the optics. It's not just the pictures. And you have to realize that a real friendship isn't just someone that's going to agree with you and co-sign, you know, your traumas or your insecurities all the time.
Right. Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And friendship, you know what, the new generations is like, I don't feel like it. And I'm going to say this, and I told this to my son. There are 3 things that you need to give. Time, money, and effort. Time, money, and effort. And when I say money, please, I'm not saying like, you know, give a whole wallet. Money is like, get a lollipop, and it's 50 cents. That's what I meant. And effort. And so when someone needs you, it's being there when you don't want to. Not when you want to. There's no virtue on being for the other when you feel like it. It's, I don't feel like it. I don't want to. I have to drive, or I have to walk, or I have to get dressed, or I have to be on camera. I don't want to. I don't want. Like, it's doing things you don't want to. So it's not looking for pleasantry and being comfortable.
Yeah, it's not
being
all.
for the other.
I because I agree with you and because I'm nice, I'm your friend.
Right.
That is not real, true friendship.
Right.
And then there's another part of friendship that we're talking about, which is once you determine this, and I don't agree with you, I also have to recognize something vital for love and for friendship. Love is freedom. Love is freedom. And if I am imposing my opinion, what I want you to do, I'm not letting you be free. So at the end, you see the red flag, you have a conversation. So we're wrapping, I know. You have a conversation. You set the expectations, you seek reciprocity, you tell the other, I want this from you. But if at the end of all this, and if there is love, I say, okay, but I need time and I have my own process, then love becomes prudence. I know you have your process, and I am going to allow you to have your process without me forcing you and giving you ultimatums, like Angie was saying. If you don't leave this guy, I'm going to stop talking to you. That's a freaking ultimatum. That's not love.
No, that's not.
Love is freedom.
Yeah.
And I'll be with you, by your side. You want to talk, we talk. You want to vent, we vent. You want coffee, we get coffee. And you don't want to do anything and just be in silence, I'll be with you in silence.
Absolutely. Really quick, only because, I love all of that. I absolutely love all of that because, again, I feel like so many people are just stuck on what friendship looks like, and it's the shell of friendship and not true friendship. I really want to continue on with this on our next show. But, Ange, if you can read those last bullet points for the conclusions really quick, because we are over time.
Yes, of course. So in conclusion, because we know in this show we always end it on a positive spin. It's all about communication, sharing your expectations. When you are in a love relationship, a friendship, share your expectations. What do you want? How do you see it flowing? And ask the other what theirs are. Love is as you are, as Minuet said, not how I want you to be. It is a decision you make every day. You decide to love somebody in spite of all of their flaws, their fears, and their beliefs. And finally, love does not hurt.
Woo!
Love should not hurt. Nada que no pain, no gain.
It does not. It's a loving relationship. That's friendship. That's across the board. That's even if you have a dog or a cat. It is whatever kind of relationship that you have. Love should not hurt. I want to thank both of you for this again, and I really want to continue on with the friendship red flag conversation in the next show as well. But I love when you guys are here. This is absolutely amazing. I love this every month. Of course. And we're going to continue on with our flag series. Eventually, we're going to get into yellow flags and green flags. But these red flags are just so in depth. And we really need to break this down.
On the next show, we want to give you phrases, real red flags.
The comebacks.
That people have said, and the comebacks. So, you know, when you hear them, you're like, oh, alert. And then what should I respond? Very practical.
What they said. And I absolutely love it. Listen, we are over time now, so we have to end the show. But we love you guys for watching. We love you guys for listening. Please watch this back. Take notes, whatever you need to take from it. As long as someone has just one different thought after watching one of our shows, then we have done our job. So, again, thank you all so much. And we'll see you next time. God willing, same time, same place, different show. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Jeff, you can take us away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.